right on time, about 3 minutes after 6, which means we'll try to finish early again. We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order, and we'll start with a pledge to our flag, and then a moment of we'll have an opening invocation of prayer. Before we do that, if you've got a cell phone, if you'd be so kind as just to check it, please, and see if it's either off or silent, if you would. And if you would join me as we stand and pledge the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, when we get started, I'm going to ask first of all, if the board will extend a little latitude. We have a slight change. If nothing changes by way of content, but if we might change the order of a couple of these items to facilitate a couple of the guests that we have. I'd like, if it's okay with the board, to, after we take care of that consent agenda, to go into items 8 and 9. We have Mr. Dan Horn and Commissioner Dalton that are here to speak, and then we'll pick up with the budget discussion, unless one of the commissioners or anybody has a problem with us doing that. Okay. All right. Well, that's what we'll do then. And then our next item, there are no hearing or actions on rezone matters. And we have a portion in our agenda where we offer the public to make statements and remarks on items that are on the agenda, and those items are listed 4 through 13 on our agenda. So if there's anybody that would like to speak on those items, we'll enter to comments at this point. And I understand that we've got a number of folks here that are here to, were planning or perhaps expecting to address the board or to make comments regarding the facilities use agreement as it pertains to our rec department and the Little League. And if that is not an item on our agenda, that's something that is scheduled for our next meeting. It has always been scheduled for that. It's what was considered or was brought up, I don't know if it was 2 meetings ago or whatever, but the vote would be at the end of this month. So that's when that is scheduled to take place. And that's when we'll have an opportunity for anybody to speak on that if they choose to. And that's when the board will actually make the decision, or they will have their discussion concerning the facilities use agreement. So again, we've got items 4 through 13. If there's anybody that would like to speak specifically about those, we'll ask that we keep our comments to about 3 minutes, give everybody a chance if there's some that do want to speak. And we'll open the floor at this time. Okay, I don't see any takers. We'll move right into the consent agenda. We have items 4, 5, and 6 that were considered. They were presented last meeting, and this is to consider approving the 2020 food bank budget, to consider approving the 2020 law library and clerks deed budget, and then the last one was to consider approving the 2020 Sheriff's Office state seizure account and jail commissions budget. I'll open the floor for a motion to approve those 3 items. I propose proposal. We've had a meeting and a discussion, but I'd like to turn it over to Dan at this point and have him.
You don't need Mr. Music, you'll need someone singing tonight. Noise ordinance violation immediately. On behalf of all of us at Chastain and Associates, I want to thank you again. We've had a very quiet year with the insurance program, and it's reflected in our premium for this next year. We're basically probably down about a 1.5 or 2 percentage points in our base rates. We're picking up 7 additional vehicles that we did not have, and for how this works with our insurance program, after the policy goes into effect on the 18th of August, any vehicles that you buy from in that year period automatically get added, with a couple of exceptions. If it was really, really expensive fire truck or something you bought, which you don't run a fire department, so it doesn't matter. But routine patrol cars and utility department, the road and department cars, trucks, they get added during the year. You notify us, but we don't charge a premium until the policy rolls over a whole nother year. So if you bought a vehicle in September, you get almost a year's worth of insurance. So every year we reconcile the list. This year we've got 7 more vehicles than we had last year at this time. Also, our budget's up a little bit, which impacts our general liability and board of directors, public officials, E&O coverage, and we had a piece of equipment or 2 we added last year. So basically, our rates are down a little bit. The size of the government and the items we're insuring is up. So our proposal going in is $207,541, which is up roughly about $5,000 over last year at this time, but we have more items to insure. I do want to, in my letter, I always make a point to say that we've been with the same carrier for a number of years. The insurance company is One Beacon. They have a division of their company that does nothing but public entity business as far as helping us agents, retail agents out, and that's called Public Entities of America. So in my cover letter, if you see PEA as Public Entities of America, and they are owned by One Beacon Insurance Company. So I referenced both of those in the letter, and I wanted to kind of clarify that, how they work together. So one of the things, when we talk about communication, and I always thank the county and the department heads and everybody for the excellent communication we've had for many years. For those who don't know, Rhonda sends me your minutes after every meeting. And so if anything is occurring during your meeting that I think may trigger an insurance conversation, I can let the chairman know. I can get with Mike. So even though I'm not at every meeting, I'm every month or wherever you have meetings, I'm looking at your minutes. So if something pops up on my radar, I can address it right away. And when we talk about communication, there's 2 other aspects that we've done a really good job. One is in loss control or loss prevention. We've had our insurance company representatives have gone and walked through the jail in the last couple of years. We've talked about the continuing, several years ago, we talked about the continuing use of these big bumpers that help the deer claims on front of patrol cars. We're going to have a claim every now and then. Somebody can sue you for anything. And once we have a claim, we want a loss contained. We don't want it to break out any worse than it is. And that's where Mike has developed such an excellent, Mike Pruitt has developed such an excellent working relationship with our claims adjusters and the law firms that the insurance company uses. So we add all that together. We're trying to prevent it from happening to start with, and if it does happen, we want to contain it. And I think that's one of the main reasons why we're very fortunate. If you look at that report over the last 10 years, basically a very little rate increase over 10 years. I know everybody wishes that whoever sells your health insurance could keep it at those percentages like we've done. But the glory goes to the county for doing what y'all are doing to to really help us do our job. So, again, I thank you for that. And, so, any questions or comments or anything?
Thank you, Mr. Taylor, for what you do.
Thank you, Mr. Trevor.
Any comments or questions for Dan? Dan is extremely easy to approach and available to you, so I'll say that while he's standing here. Well, I thank you very much, sir. We'll go ahead and entertain a vote to approve that. And did you have anything else for us tonight?
No, I do have another vehicle to add to this expense though, because y'all bought one before we figured out all this final price. I think we bought one in July sometime, so I haven't put that in there yet. We have to have a cutoff date when we price this stuff, and so, but I think I'm still well under the budgeted item that we set for this year, so we'll be good.
We should be good on that.
Yeah.
All right, we'll look for the update on that too then, okay?
Yeah, it's not gonna be a big deal.
All right, well, very good. Well, at this point, we'll entertain a motion then to consider the property and casualty insurance policy that Dan Horn has just presented.
So moved.
A motion and a second. A motion and a second. Any questions or comments, parting shot for Dan for you both?
So it's this plus one additional vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
All right. The vote is to Commissioner Kirk, or to Commissioner Strickland.
Yes.
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 Yes. All right.
Thank you,
sir.
appreciate y'all.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, our next item is actually item number 9. Consider refunding, and I believe the commissioner will correct the language on that, but I'm going to turn this item over to Commissioner Dalton.
Evening, y'all. What I'm actually requesting is permission to refund. We're gonna do this out of my accountant, so the Board of Commissioners doesn't hold the responsibility for the Board of Education's part of the IDA's part. All right. June 6, 2017, I sold a parcel at tax sale that was 8 years delinquent at the time. It hadn't been touched by the previous folks, and we had brought it up and finally got a buyer on it. Now, the process is they buy a lien from me. They're not buying a piece of property. They're buying a tax lien. In a year's time, they redeem that through the foreclosure, the right to redeem. Then you got a 4-week period right there where somebody can come back and claim the parcel, pay them, title action is done because this period the court judge can't hear every one of these, okay? Judge Malcolm appointed Victor Johnson across the road as special master. In the researching of the deed work, he found that the FIFA and the advertising was incorrect for the title on the piece of property. So it cannot go forward as quiet title the way it says right now. And there's an email included I just got from Victor in your package right there. Explains how we're going to have to rerun this and what we're going to have to do. But what I need basically is just permission to refund this money, and then we're going to rerun the property. I guess October will be as early as we can actually rerun it with a timeline for living and everything. And there's another email in here that'll show you exactly what we have to do on our end as far as the FIFA and the advertising. And then I would assume, Michael, that he would be special master again once this goes through.
I would think so. That's
Yeah.
Superior Court judge, and
That's
he
right.
naturally would appoint somebody who's already familiar with it.
That's right. So you know, the process though is the president's got to sit on it another year now before they can redeem it, and you know, it's just starting over from square one. But basically, that's it in a nutshell. It will be the $12,640 will show a little bit negative in the payout for the next month, okay, for all 3 taxing entities. Instead of trying to get a $12,000 check from just the county, we're going to do it through the accountant. But I can't write a refund check for anything over $700 without y'all's permission for previous resolution. So just put that out there for you to consider. and this is guaranteed to sell. It's contiguous to all the property there on McCann Marsh Road, the subdivision development and everything. And Capital Resource Management wants it. And by rights, it was theirs. The mistake was not. I mean, it was actually on our end, not on their end. So.
Is there anything, Mike, that you,
No, Commissioner Dawson explained that perfectly. I guess I'd just say this is, part of his continuing process to clean up what he found, but,
Well,
it's not likely to happen.
That's right. According to Victor too, this was a head scratcher for attorneys, because this was a family who years ago didn't get maybe the best legal representation in the world, and it's passed through executors and executrices who are deceased now.
Yeah, that's right.
There was not a clear chain on this one right here. And to be honest with you, it was listed in the assessor's office the way we sold it, and should have actually had a different title on it too. And that went back years and years and years.
okay. All right, so, again, just to make sure we're clear, then we're gonna, entertain a motion then it is actually then refunding that $12,640.10 to Capital Resource Management. And then you will go back at,
We're gonna put it back on the books. It will show as a delinquent parcel again.
Right.
And then we're gonna repost it, resell it. I've already spoke to Rick Baxter at AMS. We're gonna cry it all by itself at its own sale and just make it right.
okay.
And when we refund that, we will need to get we'll either need to cancel that sale or get a quick claim deed back from Capital Resource.
It don't have to be a quick thing.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
And there may be, now, here's
Be $640 based on the sales assessment on the back page.
exactly right. I transposed that one.
That's not a problem, thank you, sir.
I sure did. Yeah, the sale page is the price. Sorry about that.
Let's see. You had it right up top.
Yes.
There you go. Okay. Any other comment? I voted to Commissioner Bettis.
Yes.
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 Thank you, Lamar.
I appreciate it. I got a quick question. Does the county have a locksmith on retainer or somebody we use for stuff like that?
A locksmith.
A locksmith.
We do not have,
Okay.
Alan would be my go-to guy for that.
Okay. All right.
All right.
Appreciate it. Appreciate y'all. Y'all made it.
All right. Thank you. Okay, we're going to now move to our budget discussion now. This may take us a few minutes, folks. So we've had the public hearing, we've had a proposed budget, we've had some inputs and some corrections, and tonight the board will go through those items. They'll make those changes as they see appropriate, and then we will vote to adopt the 2020 budget resolution at the conclusion. So with that, each of you have a copy of the proposed budget. I've been reminded, I've sent out several proposed or changes to that to try to capture some of the items, and I'll leave it to the discretion of the board. If you want to go through, if you want to use that proposed budget as a starting point, amend it. There's a document provided that has at the top of it, Madison County 2020 proposed budget changes to previous proposed budget. This is a living document, so feel free to make, if there's anything, some of these items were discussed, and I believe there may be some other thoughts on certain items here, but if so now, please would be a really good time to take a look at that. I believe I I've talked with most everybody about these items, but, these are, some of these are cleaning up. There are a couple, and we have Kathy here with us tonight too for clarification. The larger items that occurred or that came up subsequent to the last meeting was this notion of a GIS. I didn't know what else to call it. I call it a coordinator. And this was a position that has perhaps been needed by the county for a number of years. Our mapping through the tax assessor's office, as well as our planning and zoning office, and perhaps even used through 911 in addressing. That service has been paid for. It's been a fee for service, be performing that service. Again, take whatever time or make any comment. We'll try to record whatever the board decides on those items.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to consider, I've got the proposed budget and the proposed changes that are provided to us, I take no exception to, except maybe facility number 84, the extension office. I understand we might not be able to carry that whole load. I'm just concerned a little bit by as much on the road with some of our children every day. If we could do something, maybe offset a little bit of that cellular cost for those individual employees. I appreciate that consideration.
Is there a particular number, perhaps? This pertains to 4 individuals, 4 people that are covered.
Can we limit
They were suggested to $1,000 over $250 employee.
Consensus for that? I mean, we'll make the change. You let me know what it is, and that's what would be voted on.
All these employees travel. Are these people that volunteer, or they travel?
No, these are
all employees.
They are.
And they travel.
They do. They chaperone. They travel in many cases out of the county.
I know the agent's going to be doing the majority of the communicating, right? And
Correct.
He's asked for it year after year after year.
Correct.
Should we offset his just a little bit more than the rest? Because he's making field,
Right.
stops and different things, talking to farmers.
Just let me know what that is. That amount there was what was originally considered. If you want to leave it there, if you want to change it, I just need to know what your desire is on that. There is one agent, of course, that agent is correct. They're currently trying to fill that, but this would be offered to that position. It stays with the position. So.
But all employees do travel in and out of the county.
They do,
Correct.
and even out of the state.
Yeah,
If you did 600 and then 300 for the other 3, that'd be $1,500. 600 for the agent. I'm just throwing numbers out there.
Was the 2,400 was the total request?
For 4.
That's offset for the use of their phones, their personal phones, as opposed to providing them.
Got 1,500.
Okay, I can write down 1,500 then in that line. Okay.
Does your CFO need direction on how to offset that, or does that just go automatically to reserve? Okay, you're good.
Right, and I think and at the conclusion here, we can give rough numbers as to what would be available in the, whatever the difference is in the changes you're making. I think we can give you an idea of what would be set aside, I believe, under facility 39. that item may be better addressed with all other salary adjustments.
Right.
If that's how you wanna handle that one.
Okay.
Yeah, I like that idea.
And I will share, or as a reminder, you had from the probate judge, that was his priority, was for that one. Exactly, the first, and then the second item was, in his words, that's something that would need to be addressed, but certainly the first item was the priority. So,
Haven't been considered with the other salaries?
right, so it would, so there would be, as it's listed here, there would be no increase to that. That would be considered at the time that all the other salaries are being looked at, or not salaries, but any adjustment to a salary. So does that make sense, Kathy?
Yeah, the part-time was still proposed.
Okay, so that is right. So the wages listed below that for the part-time is reflected here. So it depends. Do you wanna leave that in? Do you wanna take that out? My or what I had written here was to remove that, but at a point when we consider the adjustments, we'll address that, for the clerks, the two full-time clerks. And the only reason this is important is because at the end of this, if the motion is to approve the proposed budget and the amended changes, then these amended changes will be what you're deciding on them tonight, not what's written here, but what the final decision is on these. So I just need to make sure we're all clear and that you get the, what you want recorded under those facilities.
For clarity on 39, the first line item was increased to 11,479. Keep that with that adjustment we made at the time, that other adjustments we made.
Exactly. So there won't be, there would not be any increase to that line item right now. That would be in the resultant fund balance. And when the board actually makes those adjustments for all pay adjustments, that's when that would come back out, if that's your desire at that time. And I think the only reason we're discussing that is that's the one that, quite honestly, I failed to, I shouldn't have put it in there because it is a pay consideration. Should have been considered with all the others, and I didn't catch that. And we'll try to sum all this up before we take a vote on it so that we all agree that we're voting on exactly what it is you want to vote on. Okay? What about any other item on these? Digest, the actual mill, the value of a mill was established to be roughly $763,702. So that in our contract with Volunteer Fire Service, that's why that amount should match that value of a mill. But again, that was different than what was actually presented in the proposed, and I just want to make sure that got accounted for. There were a couple of changes made with respect to, and if I didn't explain it well enough, I just want to make sure that in Facility 37, there was a request for a salary, and the amount amount that was listed in the proposed budget was the salary plus the withholding. So again, just to clean that up, I wanted to make sure that adjustment is just to correct that, so that we're not double dipping on that salary. If there's any questions, like I said, I know we've all looked at it. I've looked at it a fair amount, and I'm sure after a while some of this stuff starts to, it's important, it's very important. I just want to make sure we get it all right, or as close as we can. Before we sum this up, Kathy, are there any items, I know in our discussion there were, there was a $400 discrepancy in facility 37. Did that get corrected, or does that need to be corrected here?
Corrected there, when they submitted their second request, they reduced it.
So on this proposed is correct?
It needs to be reduced on that proposed.
Okay. What they, in the DA's office, they had a line item, and it was a maintenance contract. They had asked for $2,000, but by their action, it was reduced to $1,600. And that is what they submitted. It still remains $2,000 as proposed, so we'll need to adjust that. And I became aware of this after I had already sent this to you the third time, and I just didn't have the heart to do it again.
We're reducing that line.
What's that?
We're reducing that line.
Correct. It's a $400 reduction, but that's what they submitted. We're honoring what they submitted.
Okay.
So, and that was a maintenance contract line.
Maintenance contract software?
That's it. Thank you. Perfect. Okay. Any other changes? We have actually added back $1,500 to the line item for cellular. Or actually, no, it just needs to reflect the amount is $1,500 for that line item. Are there any other changes, any other suggestions? Good. All right, you each have a copy of a budget resolution. And I want to circle back to a previous discussion that we had on that budget resolution. We did not change it since it was last presented to you. But there's a question on perhaps getting clarification or reading on whether the county should impose some sort of a limit, specifically on item 1, first page, last paragraph, where it talks about the finance director granted authority to allocate. And the question was, do we need to establish some ceiling or some limit to that? And there is no requirement to do that. This is taken, this section here, in large measure, was taken from Georgia. Well, it is. You can see it above that Georgia code. Items 1, 2, and 3 are pretty much listed in that code. The changes that the county has made, which they're entitled to make, were items 4 through 7 for the most part. So over a number of years, those have been added. But these first 3 have been this way, and there's no requirement to change that. It would be the board's discretion, but again, in the interest of accounting procedures, that would prove, I believe, to be cumbersome.
Would that be an action, wouldn't that be an action after we had approved something? Like we'd approve it first and then she'd be.
Well, I guess, so the finance director has the authority right now to move money around, interdepartmental within that department. If there's money moved from one department to another, the board would have to, approve that. That would be a separate, board approval. Any budget amendments to add money to a department would be a board decision. This is just in the handling, like I said, the internal handling of those finances within a particular department.
Pretty narrow.
But it was worth discussing and worth looking that up. I just want to make sure that before we actually vote to approve this resolution, that you're satisfied with the wording within this resolution.
And I suppose, Kathy, that anytime money's moved interdepartmental, then it shows up on that budget that is provided to the commissioner, correct?
Any questions, any concerns on that? I know we brought that up before, and you had, I think it was, if I understood correctly, it was just wanting to get some discussion or see if there's rationale for imposing that.
Well, I mean, here's a question, if we as a board want to impose, that's what.
Any other comment or question on that? Well, the motion will be to approve the 2020 budget resolution, or the 2020 Madison County budget resolution. There is a paragraph first page where it states, now therefore be it resolved. This is where you're actually approving your proposed and those changes that you just made to that. I just want y'all to understand that this resolution is implicit approval of that budget.
Would it say with August 5th, 2019 changes? That's part of the motion?
No, I mean, this just says this budget, so I think that's going to be up to Kathy to put together the budget document based on the discussion here today. So all that would be part of the same motion.
And then I make a motion to approve the 2020 budget resolution.
Okay, I have a motion to approve.
Second.
And a second. Any other questions or comments? And I'm going to ask one of Kathy after you're through with this. My question, Kathy, is do you have any questions or any concerns over what you've heard here as far as any clarification on it?
Basically, the email with the proposed changes are as is $1,500 instead of the $2,400 on cell phones.
Correct.
And facility 39, regular wages will be considered at the same time wages of other facilities.
Correct. The amount would stay, it would be the $11,479 less amount.
Per year.
Okay.
Only question is the part-time position used or not.
Under facility 39?
Yes.
This states that would be basically eliminating that part-time position or the consideration for that part-time position. again, his priority was the wage, consideration. And I believe his statement to the board was that would be something that he would be asking for later, but that they could make it right now.
Would it read, I recommend reducing for 84, or again, reducing line items over by 900? So,
Yeah, and that would be the same, you're right, that would be the same effect as the
Right.
total of 1,500.
okay, I was just making sure of that.
Okay. Okay. Any other?
And there was one other, the $400 difference on district attorney.
Okay. Is everybody good with those? We have a motion and a second to approve it. I want to make sure the difference between the two being the year, 2019 budget approval and the 2020. And Kathy, for clarification, this was one of the items that our auditor required to make right for 2019. Is that correct? Okay. That's the reason you're seeing both of these. This was a new account established, so we didn't have the board's approval on it when it happened, so this is at their direction. Entertain a motion to consider approving the 2019-2020 sheriff donation account budgets.
So moved, Chairman.
Have a motion.
Second.
And a second. Any discussion?
I seem to misplace my paperwork on that. Can you remind me the total amount that we're talking?
3,000 donated, 3,000 expended.
Thanks, sir. I knew it wasn't that much. Thank you.
Right. And on the current years, they provided that they've already received $1,787 in that account. All right, the vote is to Commissioner Doster.
Yes.
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 All right, this next one's probably going to be a short item because we don't have the actual number in front of us. But the item is to discuss the 2019 millage rate. The most important thing I can tell you about this item, again, it's here for discussion, but it's going to be actually on our meeting at the end of the month to approve, but we will have the detailed budget for you. But you'll also appreciate that currently with the budget that you just approved and with the expected revenues, you're looking at a fund balance, first time in several years, of approximately $500,000. So in considering the millage rate, I hope that, you know, we look at certainly not going up. And I think this is an opportunity to start moving towards having that money in the bank for the county. Any ideas, discussion, or thoughts on that you'd like to throw out? And as soon as we get this final copy or whatever, we'll make that available to each of you. Nothing on that. Moving on to item 12. You have a copy of an amendment for the noise ordinance. And this is a bit of housekeeping. This should have been in place a while back. Prohibited noise, and the amendment reads, the prohibitions of this article shall not apply to the noises and or sounds caused to be made by transportation, agricultural, public utility, manufacturing, governmental, or commercial entities in the normal course of their business. So, again, a bit of housekeeping, but
There's a mark out there at the crossroads. I had trouble. I had to go right out there and look at it.
Strickland, where Denver Strickland, is that where Irwin Kirk and?
Up above, north of Farm Bureau and all that,
Yes.
it's on the left.
20?
We had it right out.
Pickles grocery.
Every time I try to look at it on
Yeah, 10%.
Google Maps, it kept pointing to the courthouse in the middle of the square.
One point, yeah.
And the children's services.
Yeah, it was, exactly.
Yeah, 1.7 miles north, which will put it out there pretty much right on top of that, Irvin Kirk, Fowler Freeman intersection.
They did, Your Honor.
That's right. Yeah, ownership changes, the license stays with, or goes away, so,
That was kind of confusing.
yeah. So again, that'll be on the agenda. If you have any questions or anything that's unclear about that, please get back with me and we'll make sure that we have the information before we vote. It's terrible. All right. Any road updates?
I'm gonna get with, Fairplay Church Road. We're gonna go over and talk to Mrs. Anderson today. She's called Teresa Super Folks.
Fairplay Church?
Fairplay, yeah, it's, was it Teresa .99 or .9? It's it basically runs from East Commerce over to, Nowhere Road, Fleming Brown.
What was that road? Van Manley Road. There we go. We'll look at that.
All right.
I'd let Alan and Derek know about Crab Apple Hall. Just let them know that's a little concern, what shoulder road on.
There was another bigger, a really good concern on that road after this rain, towards the area out there, kind of a swampy area where the pipe is gonna require, it's 2 pipes actually, it's gonna require them to replace those after, yeah. So they're out there and I know he's looked at that already, so. Anything else on that?
Yeah, if anybody gets one from my district, she'll let me know. That'd be awesome.
Okay. Anything
I know where you're talking about.
any urgent matter? No executive session, sir. Motion to adjourn? I'm sorry, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. I have motion and second.
That's usually his job.
Commissioner Allen will start the vote.
Yes.
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 Yeah.
All right, we're adjourned, so thank you all. For those